Hello everybody, what's up, what's new, how are you? Welcome to my second manga haul video. This one I am going to be covering the manga that I collected for the months of June and July. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be collecting anything else for the month of July. I am recording this on the 23rd, so I'm pretty sure this is covering everything. First things first, I want to say throughout the recording of the video, I might change clothes a couple of times. That's because I'm doing this recording in session, so don't be alarmed by the change of costume every now and then. But now I'm going to be going over the manga that I started collecting in May and have continued collecting the volumes as they came out or as I could afford them these last couple of months. First, Genshiken. I started collecting Genshiken in May, and I bought them used on eBay from a library, so there was intense yellowing of the pages, and there was a plastic wrap around them, and generally the quality of the manga was really low. So this time, I bought them from a comic book shop near where I live. Sadly, the manga in that shop weren't exactly stored away from the sun, so the spine still took a good beating from the sun and sustained very bad fading. But I think they're fine for the most part. They're okay. I'm just happy to have more of this story. Next up, Yotsuba. I got the third volume of Yotsuba. It was a gift from a viewer of the stream. I love this story, and I'm so happy to have more of this series in my collection. I hope that I can eventually get the rest of the series. The first three, though, is not a bad start. Next up, Volume 3 of The Way of the Househusband. I really liked reading the series when I got the first two, and when I got the third one, it was no different. I'd read it in the car again when I went to the store with my friends, and I couldn't put it down until it was done. I just really like reading the series. I want to get them all as they come out. Fourth one comes out pretty soon, I think. October? September? Next up, Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 4. This was another gift from a friend and viewer of my stream, Leilani. I swear I'm not shilling. These are just the facts. You need context. And I'm really excited to see where the story goes. Again, there's not a whole lot going on yet. It's still pretty much the beginning of the story. We're still meeting a bunch of characters, but it's still pretty interesting so far. I really like that it's a different take on shonen that we're used to seeing. Next up, Blank Canvas Volume 5. This is the final volume in the series. It just came out middle of July, and I'm so glad that I got closure to the story. I'm sad, but I'm happy. I have a conclusion. It's a conclusion we all saw coming, but it's still, you know, no spoilers. Get it! Lastly, of the series that I started collecting in the last video and have continued collecting in this video, One Piece. More omnibus editions. I got the 13 through 15, 16 through 18, 19 through 21, and 22 through 24. And seriously, this Alabasta arc and Baroque's work was so good. When I watched the anime, I did not like it nearly as much as I liked reading it. At the end, I had goosebumps. God, I love the story so much. And I wish I could keep collecting it, but I'm going to save up some money, hopefully, and get the second box set and start collecting the singles from now on. I love One Piece so much. God, I want more. Now, let's go over all the manga I recently started collecting as funds became available to me during my birthday. Starting with Mob Psycho 100. I loved the anime a lot when it was coming out, especially Season 2, which ranks among the top 3 anime I've ever seen ever, if you check my anime list, linked below. But I love the story, I love the characters, I love everything about it, and I needed to support the manga in any way that I could find, and the first thing that I thought of was buy their manga. Got volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I seriously love the cover art. I love how the spines all look together. Just look at that. I love the weight of them. I love how they feel. I love everything about these, and I love the story. Of course, that goes without saying, and I can't wait to have this entire series. Next is a big one. Trying here. I can't hold them all. Crap. Next is Land of the Lustrous. Oh my god. When I first started collecting manga, this series was one of the first that came to mind as one that I had to collect and have part of my library because I loved the anime so much. When I saw it, it was so different from anything I'd seen beforehand and so amazing, so beautifully animated, and the world immediately had me hooked with its mystery. So naturally, I had to support the creator involved in any way I could find, and of course that means getting manga in this case. I have volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. There's one more volume out that I need to get still, volume 10, and I believe volume 11 comes out in like 4 months. I love the cover art of all of these. I love how they look on my shelf. It's such a great series, and I'm so glad to know where the story went after the anime. Get this series. Next in my collection is Death Note, Black Edition. I remember this was one of the very first anime I ever watched, like I'm sure it was for a lot of you, and when I saw that this was on sale at a local comic book shop for 15 bucks a piece, I saw it as 2 birds, 1 stone. Support the mangaka and support local business. Also, I didn't even know that this edition of the series existed, and I thought it looked amazing, so I really wanted it on my shelf, and it gave me an opportunity to finally finish the anime as I never had before. Included are Omnibus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is where I currently am in reading this, and 6. Next up is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Kind of. I've only collected some of these so far. I'm kind of buying them out of order, or at least I was, but moving forward, I think I'm going to buy them as I read them. So, I currently have Part 1, Volume 1, which I love the colors. Part 2, Volume 1. Part 3, Volume 9. And Part 3, Volume 10. The world. I watched the anime. I think I binged parts 3, 4, and 5 all in a row within a week and a half about, because I was enthralled with it. I didn't like the first 2 parts as much as I thought I would based off everybody's recommendations of it, but then once I got to part 3 and started getting used to the vibe of the show, I was hooked and I needed to finish it. And I did. I also got up to date with JoJo's part 4. Diamond is Unbreakable. At first, I got volume 4 while I was collecting Death Note at the comic book shop, and naturally, I just thought this was the best looking release of the series so far that I wanted to collect all that there was out of it first. So I have JoJo's Part 4, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Rohan, my guy, and Volume 5. So far, I believe that's my favorite part in JoJo's, and I'm very excited for the rest of the series to come out, whenever that may happen, so I can finally read the rest of the series. Parts 6 through 8 look so good, and I'd really like to own them so I can start reading them. Watch this series or read this series. Whichever you choose, you will be delighted. And parts 1 and 2 aren't as bad as people say. They're not as good as it gets. Yeah. Next, I have 2 manga that I got gifted from my roommate. The first, Planet Test Omnibus of 2. And All You Need Is Kill. Reading both of these was really enjoyable. I especially liked reading this one. I started reading this and I couldn't put it down until it was done. It was a very tight manga reading experience, and I really enjoyed the story, as simple and as quick as it was. It was about a movie's length to read it. If you're just getting into collecting and reading manga, I definitely recommend getting this. And Planet Test, another good manga to start your collection with. There's only 2 of them. The story's pretty slow paced at first, but it really does introduce you to a lot of characters that you can relate to. I tried to watch the anime adaptation of Planet Test, and the very first episode changed so much about the manga that I just didn't really want to keep watching it. But I'm going to force myself to, because it has to be good if it has an 8.2 rating. I digress. Oof. Zoom out a bit. Right there. Next, I'm going to show you guys some manga that I'm ecstatic to own. Some by my favorite mangaka, or at least one of my top favorite mangaka, one of which is a manga I specifically wanted for my birthday. Ping Pong by Taiyo Matsumoto. This story is probably one of my favorite stories of all time. It is a story about talent versus hard work and how you cannot rely on one, but a nice balance of both. About finding your joy in the things that you once loved. It's just about so many things. I can't even begin to describe all the things it's about. But this brand new American release is gorgeous. It's so different from anything else that I've owned or bought. Manga-wise, it just looks and feels so good, and I loved rereading the first half, and I cannot wait to get the second half. This looks so good. Look at it. Look at that. It's beautiful. Also by Taiyo Matsumoto, I got the first 2 volumes of Sunny. Now, this story I knew a lot less about going in, and honestly never heard of it until I looked up more by Taiyo Matsumoto when I started collecting manga, and this one looked very interesting and very cool, and once I started reading it, I could not put the first volume down, and I ended up buying the second volume immediately after putting this one down. I got volumes 1 and 2. They look great, and there's just something about the way that he draws his characters that I feel that their faces tell a whole lot more of the story than most manga. The way he sets up little mysteries about characters, little quirks about characters, and explains them later and how they're related to the way that they developed as people, it's just beautiful. From what I've read so far, it's really beautiful, and I am very excited to collect this whole series. I just wish it didn't cost so much. Next up is Vinland Saga. I, like many of you, I hope, watched the first season of Vinland Saga and was immediately hooked. It was so good. The character development was on another level. The characters themselves were just insanely engaging. I'm just dying to know where the story goes. I had to start collecting this series so I could see what happens to Thorfinn as well as many other characters. I have volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which is where the anime left off. Everybody should collect this series. Next up is a Naoki Urasawa story. Hope I said that right. 20th Century Boys. I didn't know much about this story, but I had been hearing a lot of things through the grapevine about one of their series, Monster, and how it's amazing. So I felt I should collect one of their series, not Monster, since I can watch the anime of that, but instead 20th Century Boys. It's a story about a cult and how they plan on dominating the world and how that relates to their childhood, a story that they wrote growing up. The main character, I think it's Kendo. I've been slacking on reading this story. I'm only in the second omnibus, but I'm going to be reading through it. As soon as I can focus on this, I know I'll end up collecting the entire series within a month. And I don't think my wallet can handle that right now. I have volumes 1, 2, and 3. I love how they look all lined up together. And seriously, the quality of this omnibus, I think, is really good. Next up is a series we all know and might love, depending on who you are, My Hero Academia. Now, we all know about the series. I'm sure a lot of us have kept up with the anime. I know I'm caught up. Even if it's not the most amazing shonen of all time, it is a really solid one. I've been collecting it as I can afford them, prioritizing the cheapest ones first as deals start coming out. Whenever I see a volume $7 or less, I buy it frame 1 immediately. So I have volume 1, volume 2, volume 5, volume 7, volume 10, which arrived a little bent. Thanks, Amazon. Come on. And volume 15. I'm gonna keep collecting this as they start going on sale more and more, and hopefully I'll have the entire series by the end of the year. Next up is another series I'm sure we all know and love, Demon Slayer, or Kimetsu no Yaiba, whatever. Very similar to the last manga series. I kind of am just buying this as they go on sale and as I can afford them, so I'm not buying them in order, prioritizing cheapest as opposed to next in the series. But I'm sure once I start reading this, I'll start buying them as I need them. So if I read the first volume, I'll buy the second volume. I have volumes 1, 5, and 10. Honestly, the anime was so good. It probably carried the series according to what some people say, but I'm gonna find that out for myself. I'd at least like to have the entire manga series collected just because I enjoy the anime so much, and I'm sure the story still holds up in manga form. It's just solid. It's solid. Next is another one that I saw as an anime and wanted to collect it, Beastars. Honestly, the anime was so amazing. I think I was watching it with my roommate. We watched the first 3 episodes one night and then said we would watch it again later. And then the next time that we watched it, we planned on watching 2 episodes, and then we finished the last 8 episodes in one sitting. It was enthralling. It was amazing. It was so good. Even if it's a little bit, it's a little, It's a solid series with great drama and great characters, and I'd like to have the entire series. It is worth collecting. I have volumes 1 and 2. Hey, All right, these last manga are just a bunch of stragglers that I only have one volume for each. They were gifts from viewers, or they were ones that I just found for really cheap. They were cheaper than any other volume in their series, and I felt like I should pick them up. First one's first is one I got when I tried to purchase from Barnes & Noble, To Your Eternity. And as you can see, it was the very last one I bought from Barnes & Noble because it arrived with bad bending, and it was generally just in bad shape, so I wasn't really feeling great about buying from there ever again. I didn't want to have to go through its return process because honestly, with Amazon, it's just so much more simple. Theirs just felt like there was a whole lot more steps that I had to worry about, whereas with Amazon, I can just take it to a kiosk at a local Kohl's, hand it to the person, and call it good. But now about the manga itself, it was beautiful. I actually really enjoyed reading this. It was very sad, but it was a very touching little piece of the story. It's written by the same author that did A Silent Voice, and you can tell they're kind of a master at what they do. It feels like this could go some really interesting ways, but I'm not exactly prioritizing this story right now. Eventually, I do want to collect a lot more of the series. I would like to finish this series because it set it up. It set up a really cool world and a really cool story and a really cool antagonist. And I'd like to see how they evolve. Next is Dungeon Meshi. Yeah, look at that. Whew. Volume 1. It was, I don't know. It was one that I'd heard good things about, so I felt like I should just buy it. It was just spur of the moment. I saw it in my wish list and was like, yep, that's the one that I'm gonna buy today. And honestly, first volume, slow, rocky start. It starts to pick up at the end there. The last 3 chapters in here, it started to feel like they were getting a feel for the type of comedy and the type of story and the type of adventures they would have in this world. And I feel like it could get a lot better if I just keep reading it. Next is One Punch Man. Yeah, look at that. That's good. Dude, it's One Punch Man. Like, there's not a whole lot you need to hear from me. Nothing that hasn't been said before. It's a great story that was picked up by an amazing artist, and I really do want to collect the whole thing. It's a lot of volumes, and it's not my #1 priority right now. But when it is, oh, I am collecting this whole thing. It is great. It's One Punch Man. What do I gotta say? You know. Next, I Am a Hero. Volume 1. Yeah, +1. Look at that. It was $5. I saw it. I thought, hey, that's like the same price as a Dutch Bros coffee. I'll get that. And I'm glad I did because I love the quality of it, but I haven't actually read it yet. I will read it. It seems like it's not text heavy, or it's not nearly as text heavy as I imagined it would be, but it looks cool. Yeah. I don't know if I want to read it yet because it looks like the entire series, or at least like 7 volumes of the series, aren't even available. You can't really buy them except from third-party sellers that drive up the price like an insane amount. So I think I want to wait to get into this series till I can for sure buy the rest of the series. But yeah, not a bad way to spend $5. And these next 2 I'm going to do together because they were gifts from Leia Leilani, a friend of mine and a friend of my stream. My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness, and A Man and His Cat. Look at those. Yeah, there we go. Both really good. I will say for this one, it was the first manga I was able to get my roommate to read. Each chapter is like 3 pages maximum, and it's really cute and sweet and nice, and you can tell there's many places they can take this cute little story. It's not deep, but it doesn't need to be. It's just nice. It's a little bit more a difficult read. I have a hard time placing this one. I think this would be worth collecting. It's 1 volume, and it's really good. It's rough to read, but I think it's a good read. And that's it. That's the manga haul. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I know this one took a long time, over 2 months. I wanted to wait till I could buy a new camera. I bought it for my stream, but I figured it would be good for the video too, so I waited a little bit. And also, my birthday happened, so I got a huge influx of new manga. More than is easy to make a video out of. This video took multiple recording sessions because there was just so many to get through, and I wanted to talk about each one at least a little bit. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to do whatever the heck you want with the buttons on this page. Hopefully I see you in the next video. You can find links to things down below if you care.